Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a hump day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock. Just so you know, we talked about this yesterday. I was trying to Bluetooth my interview with this Arkansas station. Dag nabbit. And I can't get the Bluetooth to pair to my Rodecaster. So I'm bummed about that. What I'll do is I'll just hold the phone close to the microphone so y'all can hear. This is on 92.1 The Ticket up in Fayetteville. I'm on hold, about to go on air. Gosh, dog it, why didn't this work? Bluetooth. Search for audio devices. Oh, pair.
It's become a Wednesday feature here on the morning. For that, we bring in probably the most cool on LSU, Matt Moscona, who is the king of Baton Rouge. He's from ESPN Baton Rouge, obviously down in Louisiana. And Matt, we thank you for getting up early and joining us today to talk about this LSU Arkansas game. Hey, the first question I'd have for you about LSU: how concerning is it to you or anybody else covering this team that the LSU run game hasn't been near as effective this year as you've seen it in years past?
It's very atypical for an LSU offense, right? I mean, typically we get so used to, a decade plus of power running football. But yeah, this offensive line coming into the season was heralded as one of the best, if not the best in the country. And they've certainly been that in pass blocking. Through 6 games, Garrett Nussmeier's only been sacked twice. But the inability to run the ball has been a concern, and at times it's made this offense one-dimensional. So there's been a lot of different explanations Brian Kelly's given for it. Sometimes teams have loaded the box, and it's made it hard to run. I think this past weekend against Ole Miss, they got fair looks in the box. Ole Miss was just better at the point of attack. So it's a very fair concern that a lot of people here share.
When you're one-dimensional, but that one-dimensional is as good as it is with Nussmeier and the receivers that LSU has. As concerning as it is, can you relax a little knowing that LSU in most games is going to be able to get the ball down the field and into the end zone?
Well, that's been the benefit of the offensive line being as good in pass protection as they have been. It has given Garrett Nussmeier time to scan the field, to go through his progressions. Even the game-tying touchdown pass against Ole Miss on Saturday night, that was on a 4th and 5 play, and Nussmeier took a shot. I mean, he went 23 yards downfield, and I asked Brian Kelly about it, and he said, look, the reason he was able to do that is because the offensive line held up, and he gave him time to scan the field. So, there hasn't really been a team that has gotten a tremendous amount of pressure on Nussmeier. South Carolina came the closest to making things uncomfortable. And LSU made some adjustments, and Caden Durham, the freshman running back, that was sort of his breakout game, where they sort of beat South Carolina's pressure with the running game. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that this passing game and Garrett Nussmeier has had to be super efficient to make this offense go this year.
With Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge here on 92.1 The Ticket and the Ticket app. So, Matt, coming into this game, one of the things that Arkansas hasn't done well is get a lot of pressure on the passer. However, against Tennessee, they were very successful doing that against Nico. This presents a much different challenge for Arkansas. What is it particularly about those 2 tackles that LSU has that makes it so difficult for defensive linemen to get by him?
Yeah, it's interesting because I did get to see a lot of that Arkansas-Tennessee game as well. And, the left tackle from Tennessee is Lance Hurd, who started his career at LSU, played at LSU, was behind Will Campbell for a year, then left him with Tennessee. I mean, the big difference between LSU's tackles and those two from Tennessee is LSU's two tackles are going to be first-round draft picks, and the ones from Tennessee, so they're still trying to figure out how to play. Will Campbell's been and Emory Jones have both been 3-year starters. They are super athletic guys that just, there was a play from this past Saturday against Ole Miss. It was a play that Nussmeier made, and one of the quarterback gurus kind of highlighted, and I saw it on Twitter, and Nuss kind of looked like a Tetris piece in the pocket, the way he stepped up and moved to his left. And what I looked at actually was Will Campbell, who took a really, really good edge rusher in Centurion Perkins and made him look like he was like an adult holding a child at arm's length. When you replace your hands, when you have really quick feet and you're athletic like that, and you have the body that those two guys do, it's what pro scouts look for. It's why college edge rushers have had trouble getting pressure, and it's why NFL teams are looking at those guys as franchise offensive linemen.
When you think about LSU, and you just go through the last 20 years of LSU football, it feels like Nick Saban turned this into a turnkey operation. One thing I've always wondered is, prior to that, LSU football was good. It had moments of greatness, but it was never consistently as good as it is now. What did Nick Saban do, or the coaches that have followed him do, that has made LSU what it is today versus what it was in the past?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is easy. He kept the best players in the state home. It's one of the things that Nick said when he got here is we're going to put a fence around the state. It was his phrasing. And everybody that's followed has used the same phrasing. I mean, just think about some of the great players from the state of Louisiana that left. Guys like Warwick Dunn that went to Florida State, Reggie Wayne that went to Miami, Peyton Manning that went to Tennessee, Marshall Falk, who LSU was trying to recruit as a defensive back, who ended up going to San Diego State, becoming a Heisman finalist running back and a Pro Football Hall of Famer. The big advantage that Louisiana has, that LSU has, is that it is the only Power 5 in a talent-rich state. Louisiana per capita puts more guys into Division I football and into the NFL every year than any other state per capita. I'm not saying total. Obviously, states like Florida and Texas and California, Ohio, big states have more volume, but per capita. So if you can put a fence around Louisiana and keep the best players in state, you can win. That's what Nick Saban has done or started, and that's what everyone's tried to follow. And if you look at each of LSU's championship teams, I could rattle off a whole bunch of names from Michael Clayton and Marcus Spears and guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I can go through the list, Glenn Dorsey, of great LSU football players on championship teams who were from Louisiana who decided to stay here. The two guys that we just started talking about, Will Campbell and Emory Jones, are both from Louisiana. You look at the 2026 class, there's like 4 or 5 players in the top 50 nationally for 2026 that are all from within an hour of LSU's campus. So that's what Nick did. He convinced the best players in the state it was cool to go to LSU. It started with that 01 class that came here, helped win the 03 championship. Les Miles did it, Ed Ogeron did it, and now Brian Kelly's doing it.
Matt Moscona here on 92.1 The Ticket and the Ticket app. Matt is from ESPN in Baton Rouge. Matt, back to this game on Saturday. I think one of the things that Arkansas fans are really confident about is the ability to run the ball. I'm confident about Arkansas's ability to run the ball on just about anyone. Is that a point of concern at all for LSU as far as how successful Arkansas has been able to run the ball this season?
Yes and no. Quite honestly, I don't think LSU's defense is going to harken back to like the 2011 defense or even the 07 defense, these championship defense. That's not the strength of this team. What they've been very good at is havoc rate. I don't doubt that Arkansas will move the football. And I think a bigger question is Taylor Green's health, and you may be able to tell me more about that. But I mean, I think Arkansas will move the ball. I don't doubt it at all. But what LSU has been exceptional at this year is havoc rate, which is they define as sacks, TFLs, forced fumbles, interceptions, pressuring the quarterback. Those are the types of things that they've been able to do really well. Against Ole Miss this past weekend, Ole Miss put up nearly 500 yards of offense, but LSU had 6 sacks, 9 TFLs, 11 pass breakups, 10 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and all that is the reason that Ole Miss's drives stalled or ended. So, I mean, it's not a direct way of answering your question, which is, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Arkansas will run the ball. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll get big plays and score points. I don't think LSU defensively is going to go there with the idea that they're going to suffocate Arkansas's offense. But I would flip it and say, when I've watched Taylon Green this year, the bugaboo has been his inability to protect the football. I mean, Arkansas should have beaten Oklahoma State. I mean, I'd say A&M as well. I mean, they could be undefeated. I'm sure y'all have talked about that plenty. But that's where I think LSU has the better opportunity, is as an opportunistic defense causing Taylon Green into turnovers and mistakes to end drives. That's what I would say is probably, from LSU's perspective, the real charge this weekend.
Well, you mentioned Taylon Green, and I think we're still waiting on status. Would bet that he would play on Saturday. I think the question is, if he plays, how effective is he going to be with a deep bone bruise, and can he run? Can he use his legs to run? Because that's where he's the most dangerous. And maybe that you know what, and that's a hell of a question to ask you is, you know, if Taylon Green can run, what kind of problems would that present for LSU?
Well, they faced one really good running quarterback in Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, and that did cause problems. I mean, South Carolina ripped off 2 long touchdown runs, a 75-yarder, and Rocket Sanders had a 66-yarder. So, yeah, I mean, that has been a problem against Ole Miss this last weekend. They didn't tackle particularly well, and they allowed a 50-yard touchdown run to Ulysses Bentley. Earlier this year against Nichols, they allowed a 67-yard touchdown run on the second play of the second half. So LSU's run defense has been pretty consistent at not allowing, you know, the 8-yard run, 6-yard run, 12-yard run. The problem is when they lose container, they don't tackle well, and it's the 66-yard run. So if Taylon Green is limited, I think that changes the dynamic of the game completely. I agree with that. He's a gamer. I think he'll play. I heard what Sam Pittman said earlier this week. But it's similar to what happened this week with Trey Harris when LSU played Ole Miss. And Trey Harris is the best receiver in college football. In the first half, he had 84 receiving yards and a touchdown. They couldn't guard him. His happy juice wore off a little bit, I guess, and he wasn't able to go in the second half, and it changed the game for LSU defensively. So, Brian Kelly said earlier this week, Taylon Green is the fastest straight line player they'll see, and that presents problems. There's no doubt that presents problems. But if he's limited, then I think very naturally and obviously that limits what Arkansas is able to do and how they attack LSU defensively.
And finally, you mentioned Brian Kelly. What is the read on him? This guy's been pretty successful, but for the exception of really opening games, he's done a hell of a job down at LSU. What are the fans, what do the media think about Brian Kelly?
You know, I think the Brian Kelly, the question about Kelly and the fit and all that stuff, no one here has ever really questioned that. I know that was a big national storyline and talking point, but I tell people this all the time. Like, the winningest coaches in the history of LSU, I mean, Skip Bertman was a Jewish guy from Miami. Dale Brown was from Minot, North Dakota. Nick Saban was from a coal mining family in West Virginia, spent his whole career in the Midwest. Like, you don't have to be from here. You just have to win. And I'll tell you, Kelly has a trademark of his team so far at LSU have been slow starts that continue to get better as the season goes along. And that looks like it's the case right now again. But also the expectation is to compete for and win national championships. And to do that, you've got to eliminate the slow starts. And so while, yes, they won back-to-back 10-win seasons, won the West in the first year, Jaden Daniels won a Heisman. There have been highs. There have been high points. It's been very good. But the expectation is getting into the playoff, winning a national championship. His team's got to start faster. And I think he made some early mistakes with his coaching staff. Obviously, he's got to continue to recruit well. And he'll get the roster back to what it needs to look like. But, I mean, make no mistake, the expectation from fans is win a national championship. I think that's why Brian Kelly came here as well, as he didn't think he could do it at Notre Dame. So We'll see if he gets there during his time in Baton Rouge, but kind of brings the conversation full circle to what we're talking about with Nick Saban and what he did, which was put the fence around the state. And if Brian Kelly does that, I mean, there's no reason to think he wouldn't be able to get there when we saw guys like Les Miles and Ed Ogeron, who aren't as good of coaches as Brian Kelly, win championships.
Hopefully it'll be a hell of a game on Saturday. Matt, thank you very much for doing this. Continued success, my friend.
My pleasure.
There you go. Matt Moscona here on 92.1 The Ticket.
There you go. That's how we do a radio hit. It's weird. My Bluetooth picked up, and then I could hear the first couple of things as he was bringing me on the show, and then it stopped working. It was weird. Anyway, could y'all hear it? I think y'all could hear that pretty well, probably. All right, let's say some good mornings, y'all. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Trivia Carter, good morning. Grandma and wedding crash. Oh, so yesterday on AFR, we were talking about Jerry Jones, and I was like, he's basically the grandma from Wedding Crashers. Jerry Jones went on a radio interview in Dallas, and just I played about a minute of his interaction. It was like a 4-minute back and forth he had with those guys in Dallas. And I was like, he's a rich 82-year-old man he's just a rich old guy who will say whatever he wants and doesn't care. Brian Benton, good morning. What time is it? I love your interview with Salisbury. Had to write on about Nuss. Yeah, man. I included, so we spent 2 segments with Sean, which is like half an hour, but I took about 9 or 10 minutes of him talking about Nussmeier out, and I did include that on Locked on LSU today. It was so good just hearing him break down the 2 throws, the overtime throw and the throw to get to overtime, the throw to Aaron Anderson. I'm so glad Sean went there. I was like, blank canvas, you talk about what you want, and that's where he went. I'm so glad he did, because I know I've harped on it a little bit, but I think time will continue to show us just how improbable that was. Like, just how situationally 4th and 5, 30 seconds left. I mean, this is the game. And to throw that pass, and to not even hesitate and throw that pass was, I mean, one thing about Garrett, man, he is unafraid. I mean, undeniable. Abner Neal, good morning. Gorilla, good morning. It's Poppy, what's up? Buckle, what's going on? Tiger Diver, how does Arkansas compare to other teams we've played? So Arkansas defensively has not been very good, but their scoring defense, oddly, in their SEC games has been much better. So they played A&M, Auburn, in Tennessee. So they beat Auburn 24-14, and that was at Auburn, by the way. Auburn's not a great offense, but they held Auburn to 14 at Auburn. They played A&M and lost 21-17, and then they played Tennessee and won 19-14. So, they beat Pine Bluff 70-0. Then they played Oklahoma State and lost 39-31. They choked that game away. They gave up 27 to UAB, but then in 3 league games, they've given up 14, 21, 14. So their scoring defense, while they give up a lot of yards, their scoring defense has actually been good. So, that they're 29th in the country in scoring defense. Now, a big part of that is they threw up a bagel against Pine Bluff. So, but telling you, man, LSU's a slight favorite in this game, but Arkansas is good, man. They're there have been Arkansas teams that have been poo-poo. This Arkansas team is a good football team. I'm not saying they're great, not telling you they're championship caliber, but you're playing there. It's gonna be a night game. Like, Tennessee just went there and struggled mightily. They scored 14 points, was shut out in the first half. Their crowd's going to be crazy. Like the slow starts for LSU, like you want to go and get that crowd out of it and make it a non-factor. You got to go get an early lead, man. Go there and get an early lead, get the crowd out of the game, like start fast for a change. That's going to be your ticket this weekend. Thomas, what's going on? Christian, live interview of more edition. Yep. Okay, good. I'm glad y'all could hear it. David, believe the Mari Cooper trade to the Bills, the most impactful trade from yesterday. I agree because the Bills are contenders. I brought up Davante Adams on the thumbnail today just because the Saints were in the mix for it. And boy, especially this week with Chris Olave in the concussion protocol and Rashid Shaheed having a knee injury. Now you look at playing Denver, who's the fourth best defense in the NFL, and you don't have Olave, you don't have Shaheed, you don't have Taysom Hill. So you got a rookie quarterback starting behind a mash unit of an offensive line without your three best offensive weapons. Well, your two best receivers and then your most versatile weapon in Taysom Hill. Obviously, you still have Kamara, but I mean, he's still banged up. So anyway, Austin Kidder, good morning. Good. Jacob, good morning. Ben Giat, good morning. Armani, although moving trade as is a great idea, do you think undercut more opportunities for Shelton Sampson? No, because they're going to play different They're going to play different positions. Armani, like they're going to put Tradez in the slot and run him over the middle. Shelton needs to be a guy that's playing on the boundary. He needs to be, at the X out wide and running go routes, like catching 50-50 balls. I mean, when Kyle Parker, obviously you haven't had Hilton when Parker was injured. What they've done is they put Anderson and Xavier Thomas on the field at the same time, which I don't love that because they're the same guy. They're both very good players. Don't misunderstand me, but they're both 5'10", 5'11", similar skill set. Like what you want is the big 6'4" guy that can fly. That's Shelton Sampson. But the problem Shelton's had is, look, I mean, he had one target the other night. It was a choice route, and he broke it off, and Nuss expected him to continue the route. It nearly got picked. And that's on Shelton. So I don't know that there's trust there. So if there's not trust with that, then just give him go routes. Say, look, go on the outside, run. We're going to throw you a 50-50 ball. You're 6'4", you can fly. Just jump and make a play. Or you put Tradez Green in the slot. Put a 6'7" guy in the slot and say, hey, nickel cornerback or hey, linebacker, good luck guarding this. And then you just say, run 10 yards, flash your hands, we're going to throw you a ball. Get us a first down, which I think Tradez can do plenty well enough. Weston Metalachi matchup got me thinking, what's the weirdest ad you've ever had to talk about on AFR? Weston, I've done radio for a long time, and we've done a lot of promotions and different types of stuff. That's up there, brother. That is up there. I never turned off Drew's sound machine. Doggone it. I got to go. Gary, Patrick, Chance, Mr. Wallace, Kelly Gross, good morning. Enjoy the Salisbury. He was great, man. Sean's always great, but man, he was awesome yesterday too. LSU has to get the Jay Johnson kid involved. Didn't have. Juwan. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, they did. Mark, I've been listening to LSU opponents locked on. I see why you roast the top. Thank you. Very kind of you, Mark. Thank you. But honestly, it's look, a lot of people who, just to be very transparent, a lot of people who have podcasts and things like that, it's not their full-time job. Like, I have spoken about LSU on the radio since 2007, producing tons of hours of content. So if I don't look more polished than people that are doing a podcast as like a side hustle, then shame on me. But anyway, okay. I gotta go. Y'all have an awesome day. VK, what up, man? I think Vanderbilt Jones lives on. I need a Vandy shirt. All up. VK, you got to remind me. I remember we did the interview and you said something. Did you say Vanderbilt was going to win the league or win 10 games? Remind me what you said, VK. Because, man, I'll give you your flowers if Vandy keeps rolling, man. I forgot about that, but send me a note, remind me what you said, or send me the clip or something like that. Okay, I got to go, y'all. Thanks so much for being here. Sorry I didn't get to a ton of comments, but I hope y'all enjoyed the interview with the Arkansas station. YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. All of our sponsors are tagged or linked in the description on YouTube. I'll make sure to get everybody tagged on Facebook as well. So y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for being there. Locked on LSU is live. Please just leave here, go right over there. YouTube or podcast, Locked on LSU, and then AFR3.